Everybody, so today I want to give you another possible interpretation of what this mark of the beast is going to possibly look like. You know, there's a lot of teaching out there, and I'm not even saying that it's wrong. It's very possibly right about what the mark looks like, right? So before I dive into all that, I want to just clarify a couple of things. Because no doubt you try to share some theology, just some deep doctrinal, and have some debate or some discussion here. Boy, there are some mean people out there, and they just have no wiggle room for anybody to disagree with them. And they say they're Christians. I don't know, maybe they're not, but man, there's certainly no love, there's no patience, there's no kindness. It's, oh, I don't agree with that, I think differently, so let me just lambaste you and put a few choice words in there. So, for clarity, I am not saying Revelation chapter 13 is not true. It absolutely is. What I'm talking about is, hey, here's another possibility of what this mark might look like. What is the common teaching, which may very well be true? But the common teaching is that this mark will be something physical. It will possibly be a tattoo that is placed on your body, or possibly it will be a mark. Or some type of a chip, even a piece of technology, and certainly that technology is there today. So possibly could be there. So possibly there will be this technology that if you do not put these marks physically on your hand that says you worship the beast, whoever that will be at the given time, then you will not be able to buy or sell anything. Now, before I explain this, let me remind you, wouldn't it be possible to go out and put a mark on your hand and not worship Satan? Example, the scriptures tell us this. It is not what goes onto a body or in the body that defiles us. It's what comes from the body, what comes from the heart that defiles us. And specifically, I believe it's referring to the sin of unbelief. It's what comes from right up in here. Where is your heart? Do you have an evil, unbelieving heart, or do you have a believing heart? You can agree with that or disagree with that. No worries. So, but anyway, let me explain why I think that maybe this mark isn't necessarily a physical mark that we're going to have to take. That it's going to be something that you won't have a choice. That it's going to be symbolic for who we are as believers. Can we agree with this? Christians are under attack like crazy. I mean, if you were to just rewind 20 years ago, we are seen so intolerant. I mean, more than ever. 20 years ago, few were challenging us that we believed in same-sex marriage. Even the unbelievers believed in same-sex marriage. Today, the Christians are seen, in large proportions. We are evil for thinking and not agreeing that marriage should be of a man and a woman. What about abortion? I mean, look, we believe God creates life, and we certainly do not, as Christians, at least most of us, do not think that abortion is moral. We believe it's biblically incorrect, and that we are anti-abortion, if you will. How does the world see us today with that? Man, they see us as some evil, mean people. How dare you speak up against abortion? So, when you look at the progression of the view towards Christians, I think we're going to continue to see this trend in a huge way. You think you've seen something now? Just think of the way it was 20 years ago. Look at where we're at now. And I assure you, how we are viewed as intolerant is going to go so much further. So fast forward 100 years from now, it could be very likely that we are so ostracized that maybe as a Christian, this mark is symbolic. You won't be able to buy or sell anything. You'll be so ostracized if you're a Christian, just considering it. But let me just read the verse real quick. So it comes out of Revelation 13 verses, chapter 13, verses 16 through 17. It says, "And he causes all, the small and the great, and the rich and the poor, and the free men." Now, free men are typically Christians. It is Christians, actually. "And the slaves." Slaves are people that are a slave to the law. Those are people who are under the law. If you're under the law, you're considered a slave. And then once you're no longer under the law, you're free in Christ. So the free men and the slaves to be given a mark on their right hand or their forehead. Pausing there. So what I'm saying is, this mark, it's not really described or called some type of an actual physical object. It's a mark. It's some type of a mark that would be not necessarily physically in your hand. I'll explain in a minute. But it's a mark, and it talks about being on your right hand or on your forehead. And I wonder if this mark could not be also translated into as a sign. You're going to have something about you that, in verse 17, and he provides that no one will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now, it's very interesting when we see this this correlation here between free men and slaves and where this mark goes. So it talks about the law, talks about the mark on the right hand or the forehead. Well, if you go rewind back to Exodus chapter 13, verses, Exodus 13, I think it's verses 8 and 9. Did some chicken scratch here, and I can't even read my own writing, but it says this to us. It says, "You shall tell your son on that day, saying," by the way, I think this is really after the Exodus. They've just escaped from Egypt, and they're safe, and they're being called to have this celebration with the leavened bread and so forth. And he says, "You shall tell your son on that day, saying, it is because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt, and it shall serve," now get this, "it shall serve as a sign on your hand and a reminder on your forehead." Now, do you think that they actually had a sign that was on their hand? And do you think they actually had a reminder or some kind of a sign on their forehead? Well, I don't think it was. I think that the sign on your hand is in your actions and the things that you're doing. And the reminder on your forehead is something that you continually do. It's what we think about all the time. In this case, it would be this particular ceremony as part of the law that they were required to do. But anyway, it says, as a reminder on your forehead that the law of the Lord may be in your mouth. For with a powerful hand the Lord brought you out of Egypt. So what I'm saying is, it's clearly being laid out in Exodus that there is a sign that will appear on your hand and a reminder on your forehead, and I don't think anyone's arguing with that. So then we roll over to Revelation. Revelation is full of symbolism and imagery all through it. It's almost, some people don't even read it because it's so confusing, because it's John's dream, right? John is telling it as he saw it. And again, before I go back, I don't know. I'm just suggesting that possibly this is another view. Because again, he says there will be rich and poor, the freemen and the slaves, to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead. Is it again a symbol? Will we find ourselves where, hey, it's very hard to hide the fact that we're Christians. When somebody starts talking about killing babies, I mean, as Christians, we tend to get a little emotional. Like, no, what do you mean kill babies? We shouldn't do it, and we'll find every argument on every side to hopefully cause someone to avoid aborting a baby. When asked about our opinions on same-sex marriage, we tend to, listen, I don't have, if your choice is to be gay, that's between you and God. If you believe in God, I'm not judging anyone else for their actions. That's not my role. But when asked about my view of same-sex marriage, well, I have a biblical view. It's hard to hide being a Christian. And it wouldn't be inconceivable that this mark is simply a sign that, hey, as Christians, we will not be able to buy or sell. And because sometimes, people are like, well, what if I take the mark? What if I took the mark? I didn't know it? And I've always argued this. I don't think anyone will take the mark by mistake. You will knowingly, whatever this mark looks like, even if it is a physical thing, if you take it and it implies that you worship the beast, you will do it knowingly. There will be no argument that God is not going to let you accidentally worship the beast. It will be a willful decision. And likewise, I wonder if this mark might be something that, hey, I knowingly cannot hide it. I am a Christian. I would like to think that that's what it is. But either way, it doesn't really matter if it's symbolic for our behavior and our actions and what's on our mind in terms of being Christians, or possibly it's an actual physical mark, be it some type of technology or a tattoo. Doesn't really matter. Just giving you some food for thought. God bless you guys. Enjoy.